Welcome to Black Light Mass Incarceration Show. I am your host, Cierra. Black Light Mass Incarceration Show is a space that is used to uplift the unheard voices of the criminal and social justice issues that many face today. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoy. All right, y'all. Welcome to the Black Light Mass Incarceration Show, where we bring truth to power and center lives that have experiences, expose the system that operates in the shadows. Today is one of courage, clarity, and confrontation. Our guest is a former Cook County Corrections officer who stood up and then paid the price for standing up. We'll explore how unions and administration can work hand in hand to silence the brutal cost of speaking out and why this fight matters far beyond one jail or one city. This is about labor rights and it's about safety and this is about justice. So without further ado, I will introduce my guest today, Jabril. Jabril, if you just want to kind of give us a background of who you are and what you did for a living and what you currently do now.
Well, my name is Jabril Gushiniere. I actually, I'm still currently employed at Cook County as a correctional officer, sheriff's deputy. Um, I founded the company Cook County Corrections Coalition. It's an advocacy coalition um, designed to protect officers and fight administrative and union corruption and collusion. Um, that's what I do.
All right. Well, thank you for that introduction. So let me ask you, in what did you first notice about the relationship between the union and the administration?
It was very friendly in my interpretation. It seemed very friendly, very they worked together very well, and it seemed unusual due to the discontent at the jail. The officers feeling so unhappy with the pay scale, with the cross watching, with the mandations every single day. Um, People are written up and disciplined for refusing to cross watch, refusing to be mandated every single day, um, 16-hour shifts. Um, and with this discipline, it seemed unusual that the union was just so friendly and, hey, can I get you a cup of coffee with the administration? When we go to these grievance hearings and arbitrations, it just seemed unusual.
When you say cross watching, can you kind of define to the audience what you mean is cross watching?
Absolutely. So cross watching is when one officer is watching multiple units with individuals in custody by themselves. So I could be watching 3A, 3B by myself, no partner, no backup, just me. And these tiers are not set up to where you can watch two at once. You have to be at one place or the other. So cross watching is basically doing the job of multiple officers due to the short staffing at Cook County Jail.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask. Was it due to short staffing?
Mhm.
Um, what what do you believe are some of the reasons why staff issue is a shortage nationwide in America right now, from carceral to from the prisons to the jails to the detention centers for juvenile?
Honestly, I think it's just a lack of respect. You know, there's no respect, and I can speak specifically within Cook County Jail. There's no respect for what we do. We're not paid in a way that rivals other law enforcement jobs. People are not leaving Cook County to go be plumbers. They're leaving to do other law enforcement jobs that pay better. So the pay is better, the retirement is better, and there's a respect. There's no respect from our administration for what we do. We're disrespected. When we're injured, our pay is cut. Um, when we're injured on the job, our pay is cut. Um, and that's not livable. It's not manageable. The retirement is horrible. You have people. I myself started the job when I was 22, so I'd have to work 33 years and be 67 in order to get my retirement. So that puts me almost in my 70s to see retirement. So a lot of people are just saying it's not worth it. It's not worth the stress. It's not worth for the pay. It's not worth, just go do something else. So
So,
that's why it's that.
um, here in North Carolina and a few counties, we have correctional officers leaving the prisons to go to the jails because the jails are paying more yearly than what the prisons are. I think our prisons are paying correctional officers like 35,000 a year. Some jails are paying them 54,000 a year. And I know there has been a push to get a raise, but of course, when it comes to to politicians, that's not something that they're trying to do.
Yeah.
Um, so in what ways have you seen the union protect the administration instead of the officers?
Well, specifically in my instance where I've observed it is I had an incident where I refused to cross watch. This is documented. I refused to cross watch. I thought it was unsafe. I thought it was unsafe not only me but for the individuals in custody. I can't watch them if I can't be in two places at once. So I refused to cross watch. My supervisor then tried to send me home for not cross watching, which didn't really make any sense because I'm cross watching because we don't have the staff, but you want to send me home. So
Right.
that didn't make any sense. Um, that eventually got shot up to the highest levels, and the director at the time sided with me and said, "You can't send him home because we don't have the staff. So just let him work his one assignment." And kind of to go to the side really quick, my issue at Cook County Jail specifically is we're short staffed, but there seems to be people where we can't find them, right? Everyone has an assignment, everyone has a schedule. We're supposed to have 2,051 officers, the biggest single site jail in the country, yet we don't have the staff. Yet we have 2,051 officers. That should be more than enough to staff these buildings. Where are they? I went through the FOIA department to try to find answers. They don't want to give it to us, but that's another conversation. All of these things were on my mind when I was refusing to cross watch. And I stayed, watched that tier, and the next day I get a write up saying that there was a fight on my tier and I wasn't there. So I got a failure to act. Um, I failed to do my job.
Right.
We go through the grievance hearing. Um, they don't have the video. I wait several more months, go through grievance two. They don't have the video. At the third step, they brought the video. Not only did I break up the fight, I pulled the guy out and proved that I did my job. It was in the video. So they had to reward me the grievance at the third step. So I against my better judgment, ignored all those things. The fact that we had to get to this far for you guys to bring video to prove my innocence. All I asked was from my union. Okay, so I won this case, so that proves that this lieutenant lied on me. I need him to be held accountable. My union told me there's nothing they could do about that. I said, did you file a complaint? OPR? I need a letter of apology. I lost out on opportunities because of this write-up. I need something done. They told me it's not what we do. So that wasn't the first demonstration of corruption and collusion, but that was the straw that broke the camel's back for me personally. And many officers have this story. They're just afraid to tell it because there's a culture there of corruption, collusion, retaliation, and people. I can't lose my job. I have these kids. I have my wife. I can't afford to lose my job. Speaking up on these things, but many officers feel this way.
Um, so you said you have an organization. So what does your organization like what does it entail of as far as are you all advocating together for a change? Um, yeah, I would like to hear more about what the organization does.
Yes. So the organization is called Cook County Corrections Coalition. It's a coalition of officers, so it's by officers for officers. Um, the goal is to advocate for officers where the union has not, and to make sure that officers are protected and don't feel afraid to say, hey, I'm being harassed by my supervisor, or hey, I'm being harassed by this director, or hey, the union's not representing me effectively, and they don't fear retaliation. They don't fear I'm going to lose my job if I speak up. That is the goal of the coalition, is to empower officers to stand up for themselves and make the changes that we know we need to see. And that that relates to individuals in custody. There are a lot of things at Cook County Jail that could be a lot better if better people wanted it to be. There are programs that are really specifically tailored for actually helping people there. It feels like to a lot of officers, we're just there to absorb frustration, where we have no real power to help people. And I would argue that most people took this job to help people, because you don't take a job this dangerous, where we have nearly 60 staff assaults per month this year, if you're not interested in helping people. But you get there and you realize that my hands are tied behind my back. I can't tell these guys about any effective programming, to help them with their anger management, or therapy, or a physical activity. Where are these programs that could actually help these guys? You know, and we would love to do that, but we don't have the staff. And we don't have the staff because they don't want to pay people. They don't want to respect people. They don't want to protect us. There's no reason why if I get injured at work, my pay gets cut. When every other law enforcement agency in the state of Illinois, they're protected under PETA, or they have PETA-like protections in their contract. We're the only ones. So it's this disrespect that makes people not want to work there. I'm sorry.
Right.
That
No,
that was the
you're fine.
foundation of the coalition. We just want to build something to advocate for not only us but the people who are in Cook County. That's a big part of it. Making changes for all of us, because the better off the officers are, the front line, better off, the better help the people who are there can receive. We can't help them if we don't have the staff.
That's agreed, and then you also can't help them if the staff is mentally exhausted.
Hmm.
Um, and that's been something that I have advocated for. Of course, I advocate for people that's incarcerated. I have a husband that's incarcerated. And to hear many stories of, so this, I guess, has got my brain kind of wondering, like, so some of the incidents that people incarcerated experience, is it led through the leadership of the facilities, or is it just the culture of incarceration in America? Because I mean, there are officers that want to help people, but then they're side eyed, like, oh, well, you're an inmate lover, you're this, you're that. Some of them are lied on and they're taken out of the block and put on another assignment. And so that's what I've advocated for, is to change the environment of the prison, not only for the people incarcerated, but for your staff. Because, I don't know if you've studied the Norway model, which a lot of people have. Um, in my last episode, I had an ex-warden that basically said the same thing, like, the way that we operate in America as far as prisons and security is not working. You know what I'm saying? And there needs to be a better way, and Norway is a good way, a model to where the correctional officers are involved, with the people incarcerated, and they have a relationship. It's not just, oh, us versus them. You know what I'm saying? It's, we're in this together. We're gonna help you, get through your sentence and get you on to reintegration, so you don't have to come back in here. And so that's something, I see some other states are pushing the same thing, but it's important that y'all speak up, because a lot of them, I've had a lot of correctional officers that want to talk, but they're scared. They're scared of retaliation. And there is some serious retaliation when you speak out against the employer that you're working for, especially when it's state involved. And so I'm glad that you have the courage to step up and speak out, and that you have an organization that shows that what goes on, it's not just the people incarcerated that experience it, it's also you all. And I've said that, I know there are a lot of officers that deal with backlash, they deal with just heinous things that aren't put on the forefront in the news or in the media. And so I appreciate you actually reaching out to speak on this, because I've been wanting to speak to a correctional officer about what they experience, and what they're going through, and how is it affecting them, and that just trickles down to the incarcerated population, So everybody's just in there angry. Everybody's just in a box stuck. Y'all working 16 hours, being overworked. You can't really spend time with your family. And then you're not getting paid enough to do the work on top of that. And then you got people that's incarcerated that are dealing with a boatload of things, you know what I'm saying? Trauma, mental health, addictions, just a boatload of things. And so all this makes a firebomb. And that's why, unfortunately, there is a lot of, staff on incarcerated person incidents where it's
Mhm.
harming other people. And so, yeah, I'm glad that you brought that to the forefront. That's really important. So another question I have for you is, how did speaking out change your day-to-day work environment when you brought the grievances, when you spoke up?
I think it helped a lot. I think it gave people hope. You know, we exist in a culture where, once again, there's so much retaliation and there's so much of a fear of retaliation that we have these stories and we share them amongst each other as officers, but we never file the complaints. We never speak out to media. We never, it's this illusion of brothers and sisters in blue, where we keep each other's secrets and we keep each other's traumas and our experiences on the job, and we're kind of our own therapists. And it's just not working. It's just not working. Officers are committing suicide. Officers are quitting. Officers are going to other jobs and uh, leaving Cook County Jail at record rates. We can't retain anybody. We can't retain the best people that come in. We can't retain them because other correctional institutions that pay more but are smaller with less violence, they're better. It doesn't make sense that we are the biggest with the biggest budget, with the most, we're the most dangerous, and we pay the least. Doesn't make any sense. So on a day-to-day basis, there's just been a lot of encouragement and inspiration from other officers, to speak up. But there's still that fear. There's still that I had a guy pull me to the side the other day and said, "Hey man, everything that you said I agree with. I've experienced so much, and I was 100% ready to join your cause, and then I had to think about my family. I had to think about certain things I can't afford to lose." So
I'm still here. Go ahead. I gotta fix my camera.
I've seen a lot of inspiration. I've seen a lot of people willing to step up and speak out, but there's still the apprehension. There's still that fear of retaliation, and there's still that fear of being put in a position where you can suffer from speaking your truth.
Um, yeah, and that's unfortunate. That so many people are forced between life decisions and holding an income so they can take care of their family. What forms of retaliation did you face to face, either on paper or off the record?
So I was written up. So, like, to kind of make everything make sense, I sent a after I was written up for refusing not to cross watch and refusing after I was written up for refusing not to cross watch, and then they said I wasn't present during the fight, and then we went through the grievance channels, and I won that. That's documented. And after the union told me there was nothing they could do about this lieutenant essentially lying on me, I then sent a mass email to the entire Cook County Jail, all the officers there. I sent a mass email there, and the email basically outlined um, how officers we need to unite, we need to stand up for ourselves, we demand better from the administration, from the union, and if the union is not representing you in a way that you feel is adequate, stop paying them. Immediately after that email, I began to really be retaliated against. I got written up. They said I no call no show on my shift. Uh, it was a They said no call no show 2 days, Tuesday and Wednesday. My regular off days are Tuesday and Wednesday. So I got a write up for that. That was immediately thrown out. I got rolled up for sending the email, even though it's within my rights. It's protected concerted activity. It's within my rights to communicate with my coworkers. Issues from the job, issues with our union, issue with our workplace. It's within my rights, but they wrote me up for that. Um, I just began to receive really petty write-ups contrary to law. You know, um, I've refused mandation. I've cited, hey, I'm fatigued, I'm tired, I'm exhausted, I cannot stay. That's protected under law. OSHA wrote up for that. You know, Cook County doesn't appear to have any respect for state and federal laws, and that's more of the retaliation that I've been receiving is through write-ups, paperwork, trying to make me out to be something I'm not, or trying to make me. When I started my coalition, the union, they slandered me, they defamed me on their website. They said I was starting a fake coalition. Um, my coalition is a registered non-for-profit in the state of Illinois, but they were slandering me, defaming me, saying I was doing criminal things. But I just kind of appeal to a lot of people's common sense. If these things were true, I would have been fired. If these things were true, um, I wouldn't have a job. So I just began to see, slander and defamation from the union, write-ups from the administration. Um, those are the things in terms of retaliation that I begin to see.
Okay. Yeah, and I think that's what holds a lot of people back from wanting to say something is the fear of retaliation. And, you know, I mean, retaliation is something serious. I had one correctional officer that wanted to come out here, and she didn't do it because she said that she was being watched. Like, literally, they were having detectives go and watch her.
Yeah.
Um, and watch her every move. And so that's scary to know that a system that you work for, because you spoke out about the things that they're not doing correctly, is a system that would watch you as if you done something wrong, as if you committed a crime. You know what I mean? Um, so yeah, I mean that's very unfortunate. I'm sorry that, you had to experience that. But at the end of the day, you speaking up is and continue with your nonprofit is probably going to change the landscape from many of correctional officers who are scared to say something, who can't say something, who are suffering in silence. And so, I my hat's off to you for real for that. What were the effects to discredit you publicly or within the department? Like, did they discredit you any or
Yeah. So the Teamster 700 is the union for Cook County Jail. They have a Facebook page. So a lot of the ire from my email, from my advocacy, has come from the union. And you know that's another thing when you say, like, what are, like, some of the evidences of collusion and corruption. um, in my opinion, it's like, if the union is really for officers and they want what's best for officers, why not work with me? Why not champion me advocating for better pay, better retirement, better protections for officers? But they didn't do that. So they made up lies, literal lies, um, and they put that on their page, which is, it's a lot of officers on that page, and I had officers coming up to me asking me, hey, why are they saying that you did this? And once again, that's me appeal to your common sense, man. If this was true, I wouldn't be working here. You know what I mean? Like if I was, they said I was giving out information that would get people fired and arrested. Like, how is that possible? All I'm showing you is DuPage County, Lake County, Kendall County, they all make more than us. And I'm showing you their contracts. How does that get you fired or arrested? All I'm showing people is, when you're mandated and if you're exhausted, if you've worked 4 16-hour shifts this week, you can say no, and you're protected by this law. You know, all I'm showing you is cross watching is objectively unsafe. What about, why would a union go against that if your interest is protecting your officers,
right?
and go against that to the degree of you slandering me and defaming me on your Facebook page, and they hold live streams where they talk about me. You know, it's a lot of ridiculousness, Sierra. You know, it's super stressful, and but I'm uniquely built to fight these kind of people. I've overcome a lot in my life, and these people don't intimidate me. But you're right when you say like people fear, like they have people watching you. Like those write ups were crazy to me. You know, those write ups that kind of was like, whoa, like that's crazy. You know, if they would lie like that. You know, but there's no protection. There's these oversight agencies you think you could complain to or you think can do something about these issues. They do nothing. I've reached out to every single one of them. The EEOC, the Illinois Department of Labor, uh, OSHA themselves. Uh, I've reached out to all of them. You know,
Have y'all thought about a lawsuit?
yeah, absolutely. But once again, that it's even Cook County. Cook County is so corrupt. You know, lawyers are afraid to sue. You know, lawyers don't want to make an enemy out of Cook County, or it's like you have clear cases of collusion, you have clear cases of retaliation. It's just like you can't find a lawyer to take these. You know,
Are these local lawyers? Or have you tried
yeah,
out of state lawyers that can?
local for sure. Just some of the ones I've reached out to in the past 7 8 years. You know, it's really difficult. You know, it's like the system. Everybody is intertwined. You know, from the workers' comp lawyers to uh, the retaliation lawyers, unless it's like a huge sexual harassment case or it's a huge uh, case that's been pushed like through media, like on the news. You see officers getting attacked, they get lawyers. You know, if it makes it to NBC, if it makes it to ABC, if it makes it to the Sun Times, they get lawyers because they see the money in it. But when it comes to just doing the right thing, and protecting the 2,000 officers that are in the jail allegedly, you know, it's difficult to really find justice, which is why I had to start this coalition, because if we can come together and unify our voice, we're more powerful. You know, if we have 250 officers, 500 officers in this coalition saying the same things, hey, we're refusing to crosswatch, and we're not going to keep doing the jobs of 4 different people until you pay us. And we're not going to keep taking responsibility for the leadership's inadequacies when these individuals in custody attack us. They're not attacking me because I did something. They're attacking the system. I have no control over the system.
Facts.
So you're in there not getting help because we don't have the staff. Now you're angry with me, but I can't control the staff. I can't control the staffing. The only people that control the staffing is leadership. But leadership, they're so removed from it. They're so far from it. They don't work in the jail. It's like, who cares? Who cares if this guy gets beat within an inch of his life and the guy that did it gets an additional 10 years over a bar of soap?
I mean, that to me, that's very disturbing because the simple fact that jail is a place where people haven't even been proved guilty. You know
Hmm.
what I'm saying? That is your first stop. Um, and a lot of people lose their livelihoods just by not being able to afford bond because bonds are set at an astronomical amount of money that people can't pay for them, and so that makes it even worse, on staff and on people that's incarcerated because you're being held for something that you haven't been found guilty on, and everybody, of course, as they say, you are innocent until proven guilty, but in America it's the other way around. Um, and so it's just crazy to me to, hear from a correctional officer itself, like what really goes on. Have y'all thought about doing a walkout? Because I mean, how could the jail run if none of y'all are there?
Absolutely. So that brings me to another piece of the conversation. Our collective bargaining agreement has a no strike clause in it. And a lot of people, you know, fear termination because that's what it says if there's a strike. And for the life of me, I don't understand why a union would ever allow a no strike clause to be put into a contract. That's another thing. You know, you read our contract, and I've read every single page multiple times, and it's just like, would why would this be in here? Why isn't this in here? But long story short, we can't strike unless all of us agree to strike, because then you can't fire all of us. But it can't be 10, it can't be 15, and that's because of our no strike clause.
Yeah.
But that is
Um,
that is definitely something I think should be approached.
Sometimes you got to go down for the cause.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Even if it means jeopardizing it all, if that's going to be a way to move a movement and push a point,
Yeah,
sometimes you just got to do it. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes you got to step out on faith. I don't know if you believe in God, but sometimes you got to step out on faith and put that in God's hands. And
absolutely.
you know what I'm saying? I think that that should be, and I don't know if maybe have you reached out to other states who are having this issue, and maybe it be not just Cook County, but across the board strike to where, I mean, because they can't fire everybody. Like if everybody in every state walk out and protest, can't fire everybody. You already don't have staff as I mean, that's just my idea. You know what I'm
That's
saying? Because I'm just like something has to give. You know, we have to prove a point that the system that we have is not working for correctional officers, as we can see, because nobody can retain anybody, not just y'all. Nationwide, they cannot retain staff.
mhm.
Period. And in order for them to really see what is going on, because people that are not in that situation are removed from that situation. You see what I'm saying? So if it doesn't affect them directly, they don't understand what nobody's going through.
Right.
As a correctional officer or somebody incarcerated. So it has to be a movement together.
Yes.
And so, maybe reaching out to other states to see if some other, correctional officers are willing to do the same. Because I feel like if it's a mass movement, they ain't got no choice but to make changes and to really step back and look at the bigger picture of what's going on.
Absolutely.
You
Yeah, and
know?
that's the point of C4. That's the Cook County Corrections Coalition, to kind of build that network and unify the voices of officers, so that we can have that power and authority to say, hey, it's time you stop looking at corrections like a stepping stone, because not only is the job necessary, but it's pivotal. You know, we are locked in with the people that are being arrested 24 hours a day. We are locked in. The rehabilitation of this country is literally in our hands. It's time that we stop treating ourselves like stepping stones and allowing abuse. And it's time that the world stop treating us like stepping stones. We are not stepping stones. We are pivotal. We are important. We are necessary. And when we finally adopt that mindset, not only will it move worlds within the profession, but it will move worlds within the rehabilitation of the people incarcerated. You will start getting people coming out of jail better, and that means a better world for all of us,
Mhm.
if that's what we really want.
That's the meaning. That's the true meaning behind public safety. The
Mhm.
meaning that we have behind public safety now is not a true meaning. Um, because you're right. You know what I'm saying? Like people come home with post incarceration syndrome, which is basically a form of PTSD from being incarcerated. And
Yes.
so that ends them back in the system, if not dead. And so, you got officers killing themselves. I know we've had a high rate of suicides of people incarcerated on drugs, overdosing,
Mhm.
and so you are pivotal, like, that's the reason why supposedly we have jails and prisons is to rehabilitate, but there's no such thing as rehabilitate unless you take it in your heart and your mind to rehabilitate yourself, and that takes a lot in an environment that we have created in these jails and prisons because it's not a good environment for anybody. Nobody, whether you're a correctional officer or somebody incarcerated, it is a horrible environment to be in.
Yeah,
And just tell me how has that taken a toll on you personally and professionally? Because I know it's heavy. I know it's real heavy.
it's extremely heavy. I'm a guy who grew up on the south side of Chicago, 79th Street. A lot of those guys that are in there, especially when I started working at the jail at 22, 23 years old. I knew a lot of those guys, you know, and I would tell them every day, bro, this is what you got to do. You got to work out, you got to build your mind so that when you come out of this, man, you're better. It's difficult to preach that message when the entire environment is sick. The entire environment, it's dirty, it's negative. There's drug use, there's fighting, there's no staff. The staff that's there is disgruntled because they're disrespected. So, I've been injured on this job several times, and every single time I was doing my job. No one attacked me. I was protecting them every single time. And my pay gets reduced to 66% of what I make. You know, I'm dealing with having surgery on my knee. I'm trying to pay my bills. It's really hard. And I understand why it gets so heavy for some people, because it's just like, where do you go? And no one wants to listen. Your job is calling you, hey, you have to go to this independent medical examiner and who's paid by risk management. And this person's sending you back to work when your own doctor hasn't cleared you. And this independent medical examiner has no duty of care. It's just his professional opinion. So now you're sending me back to work. I'm not even healed yet. This is the story of so many officers. So many officers go back because they can't afford it. I know a guy with a broken arm. His arm is broken. And he's like, I have to get paid. I can't afford to not be at work. They're not going to pay me. It's really hard. And a lot of people cave under that pressure because like no one listens. The media outlets don't listen. The the oversight agencies don't listen. The lawyers don't listen. Nobody's interested in doing the right thing. Everyone's just interested in their political careers or making money, whatever. No one's interested in actually helping people. That's what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be helping people. We're supposed to be protecting people.
I agree. I feel like we've been so far removed from what the meaning and value of is helping people, helping your neighbor, helping a stranger, you know what I'm saying? And the fact that everything is motivated by a political move, because I mean, I see that here with, things that are going on with people incarcerated, or, you know, trying to find help and trying to get somebody to listen is that's just not happening. You know what I mean? Unless it's got big money attached to it, it's not gonna be heard.
Yep.
Period. And it's sad that we've gotten so far to where we're not here to help one another. Like humanity, the meaning of humanity, in my opinion, really has no value to it at all anymore, because we don't understand what humanity is and how to treat one another. We've gotten so far removed from that, and everything's so politically driven. And but you got to keep fighting the good fight. That's why I do what I do. Is to keep fighting the good fight no matter what, because at the end of the day, God is that way maker. He's that mover, and he can make anything happen over anything. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Um.
And I hear
So yeah,
I hear that. And I really appreciate you and what you do. Which is why I reached out to you, because a lot of people you can just tell are not motivated by the right things, you know. And I've always been the type of guy who doing the right thing is more important to me than anything. Anything. If I could look myself in the mirror and be like, okay, I may have lost out on getting promoted to a sergeant or going to this unit because of my advocacy, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that, because it was the right thing to do. So many people have reached out to me and said, man, thank you for telling our story. Thank you for speaking out. Thank you. That means more to me than any type of promotion or anything. That means more to me. Giving people hope.
being that voice for the voiceless. That's what I call it.
Absolutely. But thank you. Thank you for what you do. Seriously.
No, thank you. Thank you as well. I mean, because like I said, it's not. it's not widely talked about on y'all's end, and I know that y'all suffer, and then it goes down to our people that's incarcerated suffering, and so everybody's suffering, and that's my job is here to I want to help undo the suffering that we have caused for so many years in America to one another. You know what I'm saying? We're constantly making each other suffer. And that's not what it should be about. That's not what humanity or what love or what peace is about. You know what I'm saying? It's about lifting one another up, being there, being the voice, and moving forward as a movement. And we don't do that,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
yeah, we don't. And it's like it's so simple in my mind. It's like, man, if we can just come together, we all have the same interest, you know. We could just come together and unite our voice and like speak up for ourselves and fight this. We can change everything. We can move mountains. You know, if we just come together and say we're not taking this anymore, we're not allowing this anymore. If you're going to be our representation, this is what we need. If the employer doesn't agree to it, then we don't have an agreement. But we need better pay because, like I said, we're losing officers to other departments. We're not. I think specifically here, I think it's propaganda to say like we can't retain staff because people hate law enforcement. People want to make money at the end of the day, and people want to feed their families. And if these other correctional avenues are making an average of $300,000 more than we are in a 25-year career, we're going to lose people to them. And that can't be the case when we are the biggest. We are the biggest. We have the biggest budget, and we're the most dangerous. We have to be the highest paid, and at least in the state of Illinois, because then we won't be short staffed if you change that. And then we
Right.
can
And then you're the first point in contact when people are arrested.
right. Yeah,
So
absolutely. Yeah.
have y'all tried to see where the money is going? Or
Yeah.
they
So
won't release that?
I mean, to the extent of like I've read the open budget, you know, and I can see almost $400 million is allocated to the Department of Corrections. Uh, and on average, government entities, 60 to 70% of that number is supposed to be allocated to salaries. Now, where that money is going, I cannot tell you because they refuse to tell us. FOIA, the FOIA department at Cook County refuses to give me certain information. You know, like I ask where officers are, you know, because if we have all these officers, where are they? They refuse to give me that information. Even if someone that works there, they say it's a security risk. So they figure out ways to not be transparent. And the agencies that are supposed to make sure that they're transparent figure out ways to not make them be transparent. And you have to wait months and months and months for them to give you an answer to a specific complaint or, you know, hey, like this is supposed to be in line with this law. They're supposed to be transparent. This is a government agency. I'm supposed to be able to have answers to these questions. And just like, no, we're not giving you the answer. What are you going to do about it? Because they know they have everyone bought. They have everything, you know, in line. Like I filed a complaint with the Inspector General of Cook County against OPR. OPR is they're supposed to investigate corruption within Cook County. I said OPR is not investigating corruption because I wrote up this lieutenant who lied on me. I have these grievance hearings that prove that he lied on me because I won the grievance. OPR did nothing about that. So I filed a complaint to the Inspector General of Cook County. We were scheduled to do an interview. And all of this is documented. I have the emails. He then changed the interview. Supposed to do an in-person interview. He then changed the in-person interview to a virtual interview so that I could do it at work. Because they were supposed to accommodate me for the day to go do the interview because Cook County. When I communicated that they weren't going to accommodate me because they don't respond to emails. He said, no, it's supposed to be a virtual. What are you talking about? I was like, dude, you literally sent me an email saying arrive 15 minutes early to find parking. That's
Right.
not virtual. But I let him have it. We'll do the virtual interview. And this is an interview I arranged, mind you. I arranged it to document the corruption at Cook County. Because county's corrupt, I said, I would like this interview to be recorded so that you cannot, alter anything I said. We can have this documented. He told me I cannot record the interview. I said, okay, are you going to record the interview? And he sent me documents saying I was basically signing away my rights to the footage, the information, and I could be held. This could be used to prosecute me, like documents like that. Like, I'm not signing those. That's ridiculous. I orchestrated this interview so that I could tell you what's been happening with the corruption of Cook County and corruption of OPR. He never responded after that. I then sent another message and said, is it more important to you for me to sign these documents or to investigate the corruption in Cook County with the information that I've given you? So I emailed him all the emails I had. He never responded. Never heard back. This is the Attorney General. This is the Inspector General. Never responded. So that's how deep this corruption is. They don't care. They're only there to protect each other. They don't care.
Yeah. I can attest to that. I mean, I have been suspended off of visitation for supposedly sending contraband through the mail because I sent my husband his motion of discovery, and I have asked for the test, where the test results, what was the labeled contraband you said was supposedly on the paper that I sent in that was wet, that I sent through the post office with the tracking number. So I literally took it into the post office, handed it to the lady with the tracking number. And yeah, I've reached out to everybody to help me get back on visitation because it was a blatant lie. I lost my job behind it.
Wow.
Um,
I'm sorry.
and 2 years later, I'm still kicked off visitation, and nobody's helped me get those supposed test results to tell me what supposedly was on there, which I know was nothing on there. So yeah, I get it. Like they stick behind one another. I mean, I've reached out to the Internal Affairs, and have it's been crickets about getting the test results because I've been told that they're not for the public, but I'm not the public. I'm the one that you're accusing of sending in supposed contraband. My husband didn't get a charge. He didn't go for investigation. I was in charge. I was just taking off visitation.
They just wanted to silence you. They just wanted to send you a message, and that's the corruption is so obvious and so predictable at this point. You know, when you have a voice, they want to silence you, and they do little things like that. To kind of, they're not going to charge you. They're not going to present you with a crime. They're not going to present you with anything. But yeah, you're removed. You're removed from visitation. You're removed from your assignment. No reason. It's just because we can't. You know.
Mhm.
And I'm sorry that's happening to you. And I think it's a negative. It's a blemish on a profession that should be heralded. It should be held in high regard. There should be a great relationship between me, the individuals in custody, and the people that are coming to see them, because we're kind of all in the same boat and we all have the same mission. I just want what's best for the people. You want what's best for your loved one. He wants to improve so he's not back in this situation again. Why can't we work together? You know, but you have people in charge. They want it to be you versus me. They want it to be him versus me. He's the problem, not us, even though we make all the rules, you know. And I think that's really the sole point of correctional officers at this point, is just to take the blame for everything, you know. And it's sad because, I see truly heroic people. I worked in the visitation unit for over a year at Cook County. And I see truly heroic people at this job, interacting with the communities, building relationships with people who are coming to visit, building relationships with the individuals in custody. Hey, man, how's your mom? My mom's great, man. She asked about you the other day. It's a lot of that. It's a lot of that. The animosity between law enforcement and the people who are being incarcerated, it's not what people think. A lot of us like each other on a human level. It's just the powers that be and the people who are in the upper echelons of management, they create that division. I'm a guy from 79th, just like you're a guy from 79th. We have a lot more in common than the uniform I'm wearing. what's separating us is this negative mentality of we're going to create an illusion that we're helping these people when we're not actually helping these people. So when this guy says, hey man, like I'm having chest pains, well, I don't have the staff to immediately like take this guy down to the hospital to get his chest pains evaluated. So he's waiting all day, you know. So
And
now he's
people
mad at
have
me.
died.
People
Yeah, and
have
then some
died.
people have died. Yeah. Yeah.
People have died. People have absolutely died on both sides. And it's
Yeah.
just like it's a news story and then it's gone. There's no real change.
So
So
what would you
that's
like to see? Like what would you like to see as far as change on both sides?
oh, I have so much. I have so much I would if I was in charge of Cook County Jail. The first thing I would change is I would prioritize the staff. And I'll tell you why. If we have a full staff, if we're fully staffed, we can really do anything and everything possible to help rehabilitate the people that are inside. So that means you guys can get rec every day. We can finally get therapy treatment, like actual therapy, have you talk to someone. We can get anger management. We can start sports leagues. These guys would love like a county basketball team. You know what I mean? These guys would love like a county baseball team, a county chess club, a county, like actually do things that are productive for these guys who are in here so that they're redirecting that negative energy somewhere positive, and then they can focus on getting their education. You know, I would provide college courses. You know, let these guys get their education, let them get a trade, so when they come out, they actually can attribute to society. You know, a lot of guys get out and it's like, what am I supposed to do?
Mhm.
I have to go back to selling drugs. I have to feed my family. You've taken 10 years of my life. What am I supposed to be able to do when I get out? And a lot of guys, Cierra, are spending 5 years at Cook County Jail. That's another thing. You got guys that have been there for years. This isn't a normal jail, you know.
Yeah.
So, and all we have to do to retain staff is increase the pay, negotiate better contracts, implement in contracts better retirement, injury protections, uh, better protections on disciplinaries, because they write people up for anything, and it prevents them from being able to uh, have career ascendant. They can't ascend in their careers because they're wrote up for any little thing, you know.
Right.
But I would prioritize staff, and that would then change the ball game for the entire place. You know, Cook County's outdated. It's dirty. You know, it's disgusting. It's rats. It's roaches. You know, the food is horrible.
Yeah.
You know,
That's another thing.
it needs a complete overhaul, but no one cares. No one cares, and no one speaks out about it because everybody's a part of the system. That's why it was such a big deal when I did it. And we have to
Right.
stand together, all of us, officers, individuals in custody, and the families. We have to stand together because we're all on the same side.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's going to be the only way that things are changed if everybody bands together. If there was any policy changes, like what would you want to see on a policy level?
On a policy level, I would love to see
Okay.
COs, CO to PO. That's a big thing. You know, we we uh, we carry our weapons. We're deputized by the sheriff, but that can be taken at any time, and then we retire. That's taken. Um, so I would change that on a policy level. That's a big thing right now. I would change a lot of the rules, like you know the disciplinary, the um, the rules that keep people kind of disgruntled, and it seems like petty little small minute things. You know, within the jail, I would change the policies that contradict law. You know, like when you get injured, they deputize you, and it's just like, why are you deputizing me because I got injured? That's a violation of the ADA. I'm supposed to be individually tested before you determine I'm dedeputized. But that just goes to that kind of, I'm still driving around Chicago injured, I still need to protect myself. Why do you then take my weapon away from me? But that goes to that respect thing, that lack of respect, that uncaring, Um, there are a lot of policies I would change, and I would just do a deep overhaul and deep analysis of everything that we have, um, and see how it's conducive to running a jail that wants to see progressive change. If it's not conducive to the progressive change, if it's not conducive to helping people, officers and individuals in custody, why do we have it? It just seems like, you want to annoy people to the point where they quit, or you want to irritate people to the point where it's like they blow up. You know, it almost seems deliberate.
I'm pretty sure it is. I wouldn't put it past that it's not deliberate. But I think that eventually it's going to get to the point where I think it was one prison, maybe Alabama, Louisiana, where they had nobody come in.
Yeah.
Literally nobody came in, and the people incarcerated were there watching themselves.
Hmm.
And I think that that's eventually what's going to come to nationwide if there isn't a real sit down and deep thinking of how to reimagine the carceral system as a whole, as the whole environment, how to reimagine that and how to reimagine public safety. And it seems like we just keep putting that on the back burner. But that bridge is burning and it's burning pretty fast. And I believe that they're going to be forced to sit down and reimagine a lot of things that should have been done um 30, 40 years ago.
Yeah.
We are in 2025. It's no longer the 50s, the 40s, the 60s. Things are changing and changing rapidly. And a lot of people are fed up all across the board. And so yeah, I mean, you just keep fighting. Some gonna give, some gonna break.
Yeah.
So before we get out of here, what are for those that are listening that are officers, correctional officers, advocates, or lawmakers, what is your call to action?
Stand together. Let's come together. Let's make these changes that we know need to happen. We are all in the same boat. I don't care if you're black, white, Hispanic. I don't care if you work in corrections in Illinois or you work in corrections in New York. We're all in the same boat, and specifically the Cook County Jail. There's so much division amongst the officers because of personal relationships, because of division, because of whatever. We're all in the same boat. All I want for all of us is better pay, better retirement, better protections. We should all want that. To the families of the people incarcerated, we are not your enemies. We are your advocates. We are the people who are the in between. We take care of the people you love. We can only do that if we're empowered to do so. So, as long as administration and corrupt unions take our power away, we can't help people. So, my call to action is to stand together for the betterment of everyone, because we only win this fight if we're together. They can silence one voice, they can't silence all of us.
They can't. Well, I actually got 2 questions that you just kinda made me think. What how do you think we both can partner? Because we have the things that we've seen and heard, of course, makes advocates feel a certain way about correctional officers. And, then you have your stories and, the people that that want the better. And then, like I said, we've heard of a few of them that want the betterment of the people incarcerated and their staff as well. But how do we push the division aside between the correctional officers and the advocates and the families of people incarcerated because they have wedged us apart.
Absolutely. I think just more transparent conversations, understanding what's in our power and what's not, especially with the political landscape and with the rules and policies in place that prevent us from doing our job. or effectively being able to help people. Um, like I used the example before, this guy's having chest pains. I'm watching a tear. I can't physically take him to the hospital, right? But if we had more staff, I could immediately say, hey, this guy needs to go to the hospital, come up and get him. And it's done like that. But if he's sitting in that cell with chest pains and he sees me opening doors, giving out trays, stuff like that, he's like, man, what's this guy doing? Like, my chest hurts. He's mad at me instead of being mad at the system that hasn't given me the tools to help him. So I think it's just having transparent conversations like that, because we have them with the people in custody. We have them. You know what I mean? Like, I can't work a tier of 48 guys by myself and not have some sort of understanding with them. You know what I mean? Like, it
Mhm.
takes a really brave person to do this job. We are working these tiers with 48 people that we don't know by ourselves. We have no backup anywhere at Cook County Jail. So this isn't a me versus them thing, because they wouldn't let me do it. They wouldn't let me do it if they hated me.
Right.
So it's just understanding that and having that transparent dialogue and coming together and being able to articulate like how we're feeling. Hey, like, my loved one says he doesn't get to do this. I can tell you why. Any questions you have, I can tell you why and what's happening. And I can tell you why it isn't his fault and it isn't my fault. It's above both of us. And a lot of times we have that conversation because they see us. They see us struggling. They see us trying. They see us coming to work every day, working 16 hours and like pulling our hair out, like with no respect, no help, no anything. So I think dialogue is the most important thing. And more important than that, getting it out there. Because we have these dialogues in secret, but we need to have
Right. That's
dialogues.
what I was about to say. Like, I think it needs to involve family members. Um, I mean, because what they say, a small bunch basically rottens the whole bunch, and I think that that's what happens a lot of times is you have, like, a small few of correctional officers that, and I'm not gonna say they're all inherently bad. We don't know what they're going through on a day-to-day basis, why they come in there and they take out their frustrations on our loved ones. Um, but I think trying to just have a conversation with the families, with the advocates, so that we all can work on this issue together because we're working in silos and that's not getting us anywhere. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying? And they're dividing us between y'all and then our loved ones because all we hear is about the stories of our loved ones getting beat down and some of them getting beat literally beat to death, by two or three different correctional officers. And so I mean, if you wanna help facilitate that, I mean, I'm happy to help facilitate that as well to where we can have a national conversation with just people who are incarcerated, like their loved ones, because of course, they can't really have dialogue with them unless we have them call in. And then correctional officers, because, I mean, I think that that's important that we start having these conversations and start coming together so that everybody is on one accord and on one page and one sound because we're not. We're
yeah,
not, and we can help y'all and y'all can help us, and so, I mean, I think that's something important that we should, really start looking into to do is having these circles of conversations once a month, however many once, twice a month or whatever, however, you think it should go, but I think that's important that, these conversations are brought out in the public and that we all get on the same accord and song and page to make a change because we
absolutely.
can't do it individually.
I would 100% love to do that. And I think it would be so positive and so uplifting and so helping for both sides. And um, I also think, when I see videos of people getting attacked and assaulted by officers, it makes me mad too. Because it not only the human side, not only as a black man, but as a professional, it makes me mad because I know majority of officers are not like that. You know what I mean? I know I've worked in the jail. I worked everywhere in that jail. Every single division I've worked, every single assignment I've worked. So I know the people I work with. I know there are good people and I know there are bad people. We have to do a better job at stepping in when we see wrong things happening. But that's once again a part of that culture I was talking about
Mhm.
that needs to be changed.
Right, right.
And the good people and the good officers can completely see that. but they fear the speaking out. They fear. We have to remove the fear from officers to where they feel like I can't say anything or it's going to cost me my job. Once we remove that, I feel like the profession, the morality, everything's going to ascend. So
Have y'all thought
we
outside the box of how to remove that fear?
that's something we're currently. Um, I proposed uh, to hold a tribunal where we invite the directors, the sheriff, human resources, OPR. We invite them to a space where they have to answer questions of officers. And I feel like that event itself will remove that fear because we can publicize it, we can stream it, we can question them and ask them the questions we've been meaning to ask them and confront them about the issues that need to be addressed that just remain, you know, in the silence, because they ignore us. I send an email asking, why was this person written up for this? They just ignore it. They have no respect for us and what we do. So they continue to write people up. They continue to retaliate against people. There's no transparency. No one, no oversight is checking them. So we have to create our own voice. When we create our own voice, so that when an officer says something, it holds weight. That is when the fear will be removed. Because now you can't just attack me. You can't just retaliate against me because I have a voice. You can only silence. You can only impose these infractions on people who are voiceless because what can they do about it? And that's the point. What are you going to do about it? We're not going to do anything on this lieutenant that lied on you. What are you going to do about it? We're not going to do anything that this person tried to sexually harass you. What are you going to do about it? We have to remove that. So the main thing is giving officers a voice. Once we have a voice, that fear will remove itself.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Have y'all talked to any politicians to see if like lobbying, if you could find somebody that would write y'all a bill to give y'all protections? Have y'all talked to politicians that might be on board or give you an oversight board over them, kind of like the omnibud oversight bill that's with the correctional facility?
I've emailed aldermans. I've emailed the mayor. I've emailed the Cook County commissioners. I've emailed all of these politicians and entities. They don't care. They
Was it
only
just you
care.
emailing or was
Yeah,
it a mass?
I personally emailed. Um, this was before I started the coalition. I
Hmm.
personally emailed all of them. Now with the coalition, I want to have all our members and our directors send emails as well. But that's kind of the problem with this system. These people don't care unless like there's media attached to it or unless there's a story attached to it that's already known. That's when everyone's going to get involved. Like, yes, let's champion, because it makes them look good. It's good. Same thing with the sheriff. Um, is he going to come and answer questions out of the goodness of his heart? I don't think so. Is he going to come and answer questions because he doesn't want a bunch of officers talking about cross watching? Maybe. So it's all a game of self-interest with these people. And it's not about doing what's right. And I think the quicker we learn that, the sooner we can start doing what's right for ourselves.
Yeah, I agree. All right, Jabril. Well, I appreciate this very insightful conversation. It's one of the first. I had a warden a few weeks ago, and now I got a correctional officer. So I'm glad that I'm able to be a platform where people can voice what they've been through and not feel like they're judged or any type of those things. So I'm glad that you were able to voice your opinion and then let people know what's really going on and how correctional officers are really suffering behind the scenes because we only the outsiders only know what we hear, and we always hear the bad part. We don't ever hear about what y'all are really seriously going through because so many of correctional officers are scared to speak out. So I mean, again, big ups to you for having that courage to say no more of this. I'm speaking up for my brothers and sisters who are in this carceral system. And I want people to know what we go through. I don't want us to be silenced. I don't want us to be looked at wrong because not all of us are like some of the correctional officers that we hear about. Not the whole bunch of the apples are bad. You know what I'm saying? It might be a few, but it's not all of us. And so you represent the ones that aren't. And so I appreciate that. And so I hope that this conversation can continue. I hope that it sheds light. I hope that it brings awareness and that more correctional officers now want to speak out so that everybody can band together and get things changed for everybody. I mean, for you all, for the people that's incarcerated, because this is our society. And, we just can't keep letting what we've been through keep putting us through the same thing over and over. You know what I'm saying? It's like a broken record, and we just keep going around with this broken record, just round and round and round on repeat. And so, it takes all of us to make a change, and we can make a change in a mass. So,
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on this platform and listening and being receptive and being a positive force in a very negative atmosphere. I really appreciate you. And I absolutely look forward to continuing this conversation, continuing this dialogue, and continuing this mission. You know,
yeah.
absolutely. So
I
thank you.
mean, if there's anything else, I mean, if you want to come back on and bring somebody else on, I'm always down for it. I mean, the more voices, the more people it reaches. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
All right, Jabril, I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Sierra.
All right, Black Light. This was another one. I hope y'all enjoyed it.